Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gushin Galan and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, we bring you the top 50 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. Starting with the tensions in West Asia, Israel said there had been certain progress in the ceasefire in Lebanon. The comment was made by Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar in Jerusalem. He said the main challenge facing any ceasefire deal is enforcement. Israel wants Hezbollah to be removed from its border and not be allowed to rearm. Meanwhile, Hezbollah has also said it is in diplomatic contact with Tehran, Washington and Moscow. A barrage of over 200 rockets was launched from Lebanon to Israel yesterday. At least 80 of them were fired towards the city of Haifa, triggering fire and damage. Vehicles and residential building caught fire in the town east of Haifa. 3 Israelis were reported wounded in the attack. Israel's assault in the Gaza Strip also continues. Yesterday, Gaza media reported that at least 37 people were killed in the strip. Israel struck a cafe near the southern city of Khan Yunis, killing 7. In the central Gaza, Israeli forces sent tanks into the Nusret refugee camp. At least 20 people were killed by air and ground strikes in the area overnight. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has demanded an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon. The Crown Prince was addressing a summit of Arab and Muslim leaders in Riyadh. Mohammed bin Salman condemned Israel's campaign in Gaza as genocide. He said the international community should compel Israel to respect Iran's sovereignty. Meanwhile, the new Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has issued a warning to Iran. He said that Iran was more exposed than ever to strike on its nuclear facilities. In a social media post, Katz wrote, Israel's most important goal is to thwart and eliminate the existential threat. Earlier, it was reported that Israel planned to strike an Iranian nuclear facility, but withdrew the plan. Khalistani terrorist Guptavant Singh Pannun has threatened to attack India's Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. In a video shared by his banned Sikhs for Justice group, Pannun also called for violence against Indian diplomats in Canada. The video was reportedly filmed in Canada's Brampton. Pannun was designated as terrorist by the Indian government in 2020 and has been linked to numerous anti-India activities. In India's Manipur state, at least 10 militants were killed in an armed encounter with the security forces. This comes after militants launched an attack on the security forces in state's Jiribam district. 1 personnel of Central Reserve Police Force was injured. Security forces also seized huge stash of arms after the encounter. Manipur has been grappling with ethnic violence that broke out in May in 2023. In India's Kolkata city, the formal court trial begins in the R.G. Kar Hospital rape and murder case. A police volunteer is accused of raping and murdering a doctor at R.G. Kar Hospital in August. The case sparked unprecedented outrage over lack of safety for women in India. In the United States, President-elect Donald Trump could choose Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. Rubio could reportedly succeed Antony Blinken as the U.S.'s top diplomat. Reports say while Trump has picked 53-year-old Florida senator for the key role, he could still change his mind at the last minute. U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris honored U.S.'s military veterans. This was their first joint appearance since Harris lost the U.S. presidential bid to Donald Trump. The 2 top Democrats stood side by side. Biden addressed the Americans and said, and I quote, "The world is dependent on each one of you and all of us." North Korea ratified a mutual defense treaty with Russia yesterday. The treaty was signed during Russian President Vladimir Putin's North Korea visit in June. The pact stipulates 2 countries to provide military assistance to each other during times of war. In the Caribbean country of Haiti, Prime Minister Alex Didier Fields-Armé took office yesterday. He will serve as the new interim leader of the Caribbean nation hit by violent unrest. The new Prime Minister is tasked with preparing for long-delayed elections amid raging gang violence. Didier has pledged to hold transparent elections. In Serbia's capital, Belgrade, protesters called for the arrest of individuals responsible for a November 1 train station accident. The protesters also demanded Prime Minister Milos Vucevic's resignation. Opposition politicians accused the government of inaction and negligence. At least 14 people were killed on November 1 at a train station accident in Novi Sad town. New Zealand offered a national apology to victims of institution physical and sexual abuse. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon described the institutional abuse as horrific and heartbreaking. About 200,000 children and vulnerable adults faced some form of abuse from 1950 and 2019, according to a public inquiry. In climate news, the Jennings Creek wildfire on the New York-New Jersey border has scorched 5,000 acres. Despite recent rainfall that temporarily slowed its spread, with 20% containment, half in each state, strong winds and dry conditions are fueling its growth. The fire has also impacted air quality in nearby areas. Colombian President Gustavo Petro declared a state of national disaster in response to severe rains causing widespread emergencies. Colombia is looking to mobilize resources to aid communities affected by flooding and drought. Starting November 12, emergency kits will be distributed in Choco region, where over 30,000 families in 27 municipalities are impacted. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez announced an additional $4 billion in aid for flood recovery in Valencia, following deadly flash floods on October 29 that claimed over 220 lives. The new package includes 110 measures for cleanup operations in the region. The provisions include a $531 million fund for mud removal, $212 million in aid for farmers and funding for housing support, with 150 homes allocated for affected families. Typhoon Toraji struck northern Philippines on November 11, bringing strong winds of up to 110 kilometers per hour. The storm made landfall in Aurora province. Toraji caused flooding and toppled trees. The Philippines, hit by around 20 storms annually, regularly faces heavy rains, powerful winds and landslides. Greta Thunberg joined climate activists in Tbilisi, Georgia, to protest Azerbaijan hosting the COP29 climate summit, arguing that its repressive policies and human rights record make it an unsuitable host. Thunberg condemned Azerbaijan, calling it a repressive occupying state that uses the summit for greenwashing. At the COP29 summit in Baku, Azerbaijan, climate activists staged a silent protest. They cited restrictions imposed by the United Nations that prevented chanting or speeches. Protesters representing various international groups emphasized that climate justice is unattainable amid ongoing war. On to business and tech news now. The U.S. stock market indices rose to a new high, boosted by stocks linked to President-elect Donald Trump. The S&P 500 closed the session with a margin of 0.1% gains. The Dow Jones rose about 0.7% to a new record high. The market was lifted by stocks like Tesla, Coinbase Global, and Riot Platforms. While Tesla is expected to benefit from Elon Musk's close ties with Trump, others were buoyed by hopes of tax cuts and more deregulation. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's effect was also seen in the currency market. The US dollar was traded close to a 4-month high compared to major peers like the yen, yuan and euro. The euro declined to an almost 7-month low against the dollar overnight. The Chinese yuan also dropped to over 3-month low. Both the euro and yuan are expected to be hit by the Trump administration's potential tariff plans. Mexico will retaliate if the new Trump administration slaps tariff on its exports. The country's economy minister Marcelo Ebrard said if Donald Trump goes ahead with his plan to impose a 25% import tax on Mexico, the Latin American country will be forced to impose its own import tariffs on U.S. goods. Ebrard noted these tariffs will have a gigantic cost for the North American economy. The cryptocurrency Bitcoin has also continued with its record-breaking streak. The world's largest virtual coin is now inching toward the $90,000 mark. Bitcoin rose to trade as high as $89,600 earlier today. Bitcoin has rallied about 32% since the November 5th U.S. elections. Crypto investors are hoping for friendly regulation during the new Trump administration. Bankrupt cryptocurrency company FTX has sued rival Binance and its former CEO Zhao Changpeng. The lawsuit is related to Binance selling its stake in FTX in 2021. It claims that FTX's Alameda Research Division directly funded the deal. However, the unit was bankrupt at the time of the transaction. The lawsuit alleges that fraudulently transferred $1.8 billion from the account to FTX to Binance. The first joint flight of Indian carriers Air India and Vistara took off from Qatar at midnight yesterday. Vistara wrapped up its last flight operation ahead of the merger. The decade-old carrier has been integrated with Tata Group-owned Air India. Vistara was a joint venture between Tata Group and Singapore Airlines. After the merger, Singapore Airlines will hold a 25% stake in the joint entity. Chinese plane maker Cosmac has rebranded its ARJ-21 regional jet as C909. The move aims to align the jet's name with Cosmac's other aircraft models. As part of the rebranding, the C909 jet will also get a blue tail. It was unveiled at a Chinese air show in Zhuhai today. American plane maker Boeing says its commercial airplanes quality head, Elizabeth Lund, will retire this year. Elizabeth took over the position in February this year amid a brewing crisis for the plane maker. Boeing has been under scrutiny for its jet quality amid a mid-air door panel blowout incident in January. Elizabeth has been with the plane maker for the last 33 years. Chinese smartphone maker Huawei has asked a U.S. court to dismiss a case against it. The 2018 case filed by the U.S. Department of Justice includes several charges. Huawei has been accused of stealing technology secrets from U.S. rivals. The Chinese smartphone maker is also accused of misleading U.S. banks. Huawei is in its court filing said the case was ill-founded and outside of U.S. jurisdiction. Web Summit, Europe's biggest annual tech conference, has started in Portugal's Lisbon yesterday. Executives from Apple, Microsoft, Meta and other tech giants are set to join the event. High-ranking officials from European countries will take part in the conference, and reports say this year Web Summit will be dominated by the impact of the new Trump presidency on tech regulation. Moving to sports, and we start with cricket. Pakistan may reportedly withdraw from the 2025 ICC Champions Trophy. Pakistan says it won't participate if the tournament is moved out of the country. ICC has reportedly proposed a hybrid model after India refused travel for the Champions Trophy. Afghanistan beat Bangladesh by 5 wickets in the third and final one-day international. Batting first, Bangladesh scored 244 runs. Chasing the target, Afghanistan's Rahmanullah Gurbaz scored a historic century. The Afghan side won the match with 10 balls remaining. With the victory, Afghanistan secured a 2-1 series win over Bangladesh. And in the series match against Bangladesh, Afghanistan's Rahmanullah Gurbaz also claimed a historic record. Gurbaz became the second youngest cricketer to score most centuries. Gurbaz boasts 8 centuries at the age of 22 years and 349 days. In Football Premier League, referee David Coote will be suspended. This came after this was seen abusing former Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp. Coote's foul-mouthed rant against Klopp recently went viral on social media. The UK referee was suspended pending a full investigation. Ruud van Nistelrooy resigned as Manchester United's interim head coach. The Dutchman joined the United as an assistant coach in July on a 2-year deal. Nistelrooy coached United for 4 matches during his brief stint. United will now be led by Ruben Amorim of Portugal. Norway's Casper Ruud stunned Carlos Alcaraz in an ATP Finals group stage match. Rudd defeated Alcaraz in straight sets 6-1, 7-5. World number 3 Alcaraz hit 34 unforced errors during the match. Despite the loss, Alcaraz remains in fray for the season ending. Italy's Yannick Sinner was presented with the ATP year-end #1 trophy. Sinner received the honour in front of jubilatory home crowd in Italy's turn. In June, Sinner became the first Italian to claim #1 spot in tennis singles. He has won 2 Grand Slams this season. In India, hockey secured an emphatic win over Malaysia in Women's Asian Champions Trophy. The Indian side beat Malaysia 4-0 in tournament opener. Sangeeta Kumari gave India the lead in the first quarter. Neither sides managed to score and after play resumed. In the third quarter, India scored 2 goals to take the tally to 3-0. Sangeeta Kumari scored another goal in last quarter to seal the win. In baseball, Japan's Shohei Ohtani was nominated for Most Valuable Player award at the U.S. National League. This comes after Ohtani's historic debut season with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Ohtani became the first in history to amass 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in the same season. The slugger was key to Dodgers winning the World Series title recently. Meanwhile, Nestlé's Kit Kat signed a global sponsorship deal with Formula One. The collaboration will start from 2025. The aim is to improve Kit Kat's global reach to shoppers under 30 years of age. As part of the deal, F1 will be advertised on the chocolate's wrappers, and racetracks will be featuring Kit Kat's advertisements. Moving to the world of showbiz now, 3 weeks after Liam Payne's tragic death, the Jonas Brothers honored him by performing One Direction's Night Changes at their concert in California. Standing together on stage, Nick, Joe and Kevin Jonas delivered emotional rendition of the song, with the audience joining in on the final line. Payne passed away on October 16 after falling from a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires. Yale University offered a course titled Beyoncé Makes History, Black Radical Tradition, History, Culture, Theory and Politics Throughout Music. The course will explore Beyoncé's career as it relates to Black excellence in art. The class will delve into the sonic fashion and visual evolution of Beyoncé's work from her 2013 solo debut to 2024's Cowboy Carter. Students can apply for the course starting spring of 2025. Ollie Alexander, the British musician and lead singer of Years and Years, recently announced that his highly anticipated album, Polari, will be released on February 7, 2025. Alexander shared the album draws heavy inspiration from the 1980s and 1990s, as well as his queer heroes, including icons like George Michael, the Pet Shop Boys, and Erasure. One of the most talked about moments in teaser of The White Lotus Season 3 is Blackpink's Lisa making after acting debut. The K-pop superstar will play Mook, a resort manager at the White Lotus in Thailand. In the brief clip, Lisa warmly greets guests with the line. In an interview, Lisa said, "It was like acting in a music video." Actor Megan Fox and rapper Machine Gun Kelly are expecting their first child together. The actor revealed the good news on Instagram. In a dramatic gothic photo, Fox, covered in black liquid, cradles her belly while sharing a positive pregnancy test. The couple, who got engaged in 2022, are already parents to children from previous relationships. Despite a brief breakup in 2023, Fox has described MGK as her twin soul. The first teaser trailer of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning has dropped, beginning a wave of nostalgia for fans of the long-running franchise. Tom Cruise's iconic character, Ethan Hunt, embarks on another thrilling adventure. The trailer taps into the series' roots, featuring footage from original 1996 Mission Impossible film. The film hits the theaters on May 23 next year. Mark Rylance is reportedly at the top of the casting list of the highly anticipated HBO Harry Potter adaptation. Reports indicating he is being considered for the iconic role of Professor Dumbledore. Although Warner Bros. Television has not yet entered negotiations with the actor. They have made initial inquiries about his availability. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson addressed some of the claims made about his behavior on set in an interview. He admitted to being occasionally late and even peeing in water bottles to save time during filming. He explained that it was all about efficiency. This comes after claims that his tardiness on set contributed to the soaring budget of his Christmas movie, Red One. Timothée Chalamet recently shared in an interview that when he was starring outside Hollywood, he would face pressure to gain weight. This was in order to fit the typical leading man image. Specifically, he recalled auditioning for big franchises like The Maze Runner and Divergent, and receiving feedback that his body type wasn't right for those roles. His agent even advised him to put on weight. And finally, Netflix's upcoming animated feature Spellbound held its premiere in New York City. The star-studded cast, including Rachel Zelger, Nicole Kidman, and Javier Bardem, graced the red carpet at the premiere. Zelger voiced 15-year-old Princess Eliane, whose parents have been transformed into monsters by a mysterious spell. Kidman and Bardem lent their voices to the monstrous versions of Eliane's parents. It will begin streaming on Netflix on November 22. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan and we'll see you right back here next week. Stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.